welcome everybody to the October koha-US web dev meeting. Um, Before I started the recording, I mentioned I had chatted with Lucas a little bit last month, and he said that he has like a conflicting meeting with this time, so we may be looking at rescheduling this one just to see if we can get some more people, including Lucas, back into these web dev meetings. But I didn't do any follow-up work on that, so this month we're just kind of chugging along like we usually do, and if he can show up, he will. So my thought idea for this, since most of us are Bywater customers and we upgraded since the last go around, I would share what changes I had to make, things that broke in my jQuery, just to make everybody aware with things that changed in the upgrade. So I can share my screen. And I thought I had this brilliant idea. So I was like, I can use the log viewer to see what changes I've made to my user.js since the upgrade, because I don't remember all the changes I made. So I did that. I ran the logs for the system preferences for my account from October 1st to the 17th. I thought that would catch everything. And this works sort of. So I checked the little comparison boxes for the first and last boxes, and then I ran the comparison tool here. And it gives me sort of a diff view of what's changed. I realized I just like messed it up. There we go. So, and it like tries to render the HTML and it crashes every once in a while. So that's fun. Let's see if I can get it back. But it does show some diffs. So one of the things that I ran into with the upgrade was when they changed how the items load. So like this table is using the API to load now. So when there's a ton of stuff, then it loads faster. But with that change, any of the jQuery I had added to modify the holdings table went away because it was loading the table after the page loaded. So when it was in the document ready wrapper, it couldn't see what changes I wanted to make because that content wasn't on the page yet. So I found that I had to move anything I wanted to change down here into a different wrapper. So that's using, instead of the document ready, I have it wrapped in the document one AJAX stop function, which is saying once that API loading, whatever, the AJAX loading stops, then do the modifications. So for that, there's a few things in here. You can see I added some styling to our rotation books. So we don't actually loan those. They're just sort of there for inventory. So I have it with the damage status and stuff. So I want to like make those look a little different so the staff realizes those aren't things they can place holds on. They're just sort of there. So that's one thing that broke. I had to move that into the AJAX stop to get it to pick up these different stylings based on, I think we're looking at, yeah, if the home branch contains rotation, then I want to make that row have these styles. Before that was in my document ready and it worked. After the upgrade, it didn't work anymore. Same thing with these. I have some tooltips on certain things, and then this print insert button, it just wasn't showing up until I moved it up because this box wasn't loading until after the page loaded. So that's one thing I had to fix. Another thing on the login page, this class changed. So I have this locked down so that my libraries can't actually change the library, and the class changed. So then right after the upgrade, they could. And I think it just went, yeah, it's that library branch now. And before it was, it's not a class, it's an ID, sorry. So the ID was branch before, and now it's that library branch. That was something that broke. This is something I added with the upgrade as like a stealth thing that I got from Christopher Brandon. All that does is like this little checkbox, it forces it to check for everybody because I was having a lot of problems with a lot of problems with some libraries, like their browsers were clearing their cookies or something, like it wasn't sticking. So I just added that code that Christopher sent me, and that makes sure that checkbox is always checked just on the cert page. I don't have it functioning on the details page. So if I go over there, you can see it's not automatically checked. And I've gotten a lot less complaints about that now. What else did I have to fix? This was also a change. So these buttons on the checkout screen used to have IDs and now they have classes. So right after the upgrade, the styling all broke because I'm pushing in styles using JavaScript there.
For the holdings
Yeah.
table and the other holdings table, Christopher used on draw.dt
Oh
instead
yeah,
of,
that'll do it too.
because it's after the data table draws,
That makes
since
sense.
that's a data table.
Yeah.
But there's code in what we did the video on a couple of days ago that you could, that would should make it easy to style those rotation items.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that because yeah, that was my solution. I have to put it in that Ajax stop section, which I have a bunch of stuff in there anyways, so it wasn't a big deal. I just had to move it up in my code. Um, and let's see what else I changed. There's something here that I'm not sure. Oh, so I had some, this still is broken. So I had it set where we would match the library to the patron home library for message deletion because we have this issue where I don't remember the exact situation, but basically if the patron's home library doesn't it's tied into a system preference. So like let's look at that. Maybe I'll remember. It's this one, allow message deletion. So I have it set to don't allow staff to delete messages added from other libraries. The problem is we want staff to be able to delete messages for their patrons. So like if they rack up a bunch of messages at one library and then they change their home library, the library has to go back to the originating library to get the messages deleted with that system preference on. So I wrote some code where I could flip the system preference to allow, but then make sure the home library matches the logged in library and set the deletion based on that. And that worked until after the upgrade, and I'm still not sure why that's not working now. So I had to flip it back just so that people could actually delete messages again. Um,
There was a
that's what I'm
bug
gonna.
involved.
There's a bug in there. Okay.
So what it was is there was a URL you could plug the message ID into the URL,
Mm-hmm.
and it would bypass the system preference, and it doesn't allow that. And somebody wrote a bug that said, there's a people could find a way. It's a workaround to that system preference, so let's fix it. And so I
Yeah.
don't think you're going to be able to rebuild that.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll put in my bug request which is really what needs to happen. Anyways, I need another option on the system preference basically that says allow the home branch of the patron to delete messages is
yeah,
really what I'm looking for.
and that would be a uh, good modification.
Yeah. Um, oh, there's like this is new, something new I added on the Circ homepage. We use the fast ads for temporary ILL records, so I just renamed it there. I guess it used to say fast ad cataloging there and people just ignored it, but I came across it and decided I need to fix it. And then there's a lot of report link updates in my jQuery because those changed. I think that's what this one is too. Yeah, it's like question mark reports got changed to question mark ID. Um, And then this is the point at which this comparison tool stops working, but you get this cool little spinny effect. because it's picking up something in my jQuery that just totally breaks everything. So I'm not sure what else I changed since the
That's kind of
upgrade.
awesome.
Yeah, isn't that neat? And then like club hold is spinning and then it crashes. So there's probably something in there I need to fix, but I haven't gotten there yet. Other than that, I'm trying to think of other things that broke during the upgrade that I had to fix. Most of it was the report links. So I have some pages, like I've got my cleanup reports page. I had to go through here and update all the report links there. I had some in this drop down that needed updated. And then um, on my Circ homepage, all of these link out to reports. I had to update those. The only other thing that I remember that was majorly broken was in my template toolkit for slips. I had some weird template toolkit in there that was rendering HTML from the news items that didn't need to be there anymore, and it was breaking everything on my slips. So if you have broken HTML on your slips, it's probably because you have that weird code too. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen while I think about other things and ask you guys if there's other stuff that you want to talk about or questions or cool things you've made or broken lately.
Hello, this is Janice.
Hi, Janice.
We haven't been upgraded yet. I don't think. I haven't had a message yet.
Okay,
But I do have a question. And if I can share my screen,
sure.
I can show you what I'm having a question on. Okay. So I created a page, within the tools
Mm-hmm.
called FAQs. And when I click on it, it gives me this. But what I found out was if I log into it and then click on the link, I can see the page. Is it supposed to operate like that?
I didn't think so. I thought it was supposed to be just a public page. I wonder,
Well,
what
that's
does
what
it
I
look
thought.
like? Yeah, what does it look like in your staff client when you go to the pages page? So it says
Uh-oh. That's
default.
it right here.
It's
That's what
not
it's
branched.
supposed to look like.
Okay.
But I have it set for the OPAC is the location.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then the
it's
URL,
default.
I have default or current language.
Yeah, that does seem like a bug. I was trying to see, I don't have any OPAC pages set up right now. I need to like make one and test that.
I'd wonder if it's a CSRF issue. Because that's what everything's been.
Yeah, it seems odd that you would need to be logged in to see it if it's set to, um, yours is, so you said you hadn't been upgraded yet. Yours,
No.
yours does look a little different than mine, but, um, I get a 4. Why
Yeah,
do I
we're
get a
still on 23.05.
Oh, mine's taking me the wrong. I made my, I'm playing with it. Sorry. I made a page in my test server and that didn't work because it's pointing me
Okay.
to my live server and yeah. So I'm just gonna try and test it. Yeah, mine's not doing that. So it could be something that's in the upgrade.
Okay.
The only difference I see between your system is mine is I don't have that default or current language because we don't have any language packages installed. I think that's why
Well,
you
we
have
don't
that and
use
I
any other
don't.
languages. We just use English.
Okay. Yeah, well, I can share my screen and show you what mine looks like,
Okay.
just for comparison.
And Byward is hosting us, so
So mine is set to opaque all libraries. And I just did tests and I just put some testing chunk in there just so it'd have something. And when I go to that specific page, it just comes up even though I'm not logged in.
okay.
So the upgrade may fix it, or there may be something strange in your configuration. Because like I
Okay.
said, yours said like default or current language, and mine just has this one opaque link.
Okay. I'll submit a ticket.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Anything else people have been playing with, working on, questions about?
Sorry, I'm still kind of eating my lunch.
Oh yeah, we didn't add that to the recording. What was for lunch, George?
We're having a board meeting here today. First in-person board meeting since the pandemic.
Oh, nice.
Executive board, and so their executive board meeting, it just ended, and the foundation meeting starts at 1. So there's lunch in between because it's many of the same people.
Makes sense.
This is what Christopher and I are it's gonna be part of the video for, I think, this week. But I can show you guys, because this is one of the first things that people complained about after the upgrade here. So let me save that and I'll share my screen on the test system. Let me find a title. Oh, and that's don't want to look for the book title in the patron. There we go. So how many of you seen oh, come on. I'm logged into the wrong library. Did I not save that? Well, now it's not doing it. I took the code out of there. How many of you saw that message? We're seeing the message that says item was not checked out. What I've got is just some code to get rid of that. So it was pretty simple code. And I took it out, so why is it not showing up? That's weird. I wonder if somebody's already patched it and, well, no, we're still in 2503. 240503, so. And it's showing up there for a second. Oh, I know why. I know why. It's because I've got it on my There we go. So that item was not checked in. As soon as that started showing up, people started calling in saying, why is it not checked in? What am I doing wrong? Because when they see that, they think to themselves, well, it's not checked in. That means it didn't work right because I scanned it and it made a beep and now it's saying I didn't check it in. What's wrong? They're reading that as item was not processed. And what it means is that the item wasn't checked in because it wasn't checked out. Um, so really quickly when that started to happen, I realized, well, the first thing I don't like about this is that the when you look at both of these things, they're both wrapped in spans. Uh, so what I did is I looked it all up and I said, let's put a line break in there. And so that puts them on nice separate lines, which I like. And then there are some situations where I do want that message to appear when there's weird circumstances dealing with the item. It's like a warning that you don't need for every single item that you check in that isn't checked out. So what I did is I wrote, this adds a class, not to the individual pieces of it, but it adds a class to that whole cell in the table. And then the next three parts, if the item is damaged, it removes that class that I created in the second line. And if it's withdrawn, it removes that class. And if it's not withdrawn and it's not damaged, then it leaves that class there. And so that you get the situation where this is only going to show up as not checked in if it's damaged or if it's withdrawn. Which I don't have any of these items are marked that way, but to show you, at least I don't think they are. I could easily make one. Let's make this one damaged. And make number 3. Withdrawn. So that one's showing up in a couple of spots now because that one's damaged and that one's withdrawn. So it just it brings that message back, but only in those circumstances. The one where the item was not checked out, it just doesn't have that message there because you don't need that for every single item, which is what happens when our courier bins arrive or things like that, or when you do cleanup at the end of the day. So so that's really the only non-Aspen thing that I've done in the last 2 weeks. Because we're getting ready to go live with Aspen Discovery next week. So we've been focused on that. So
It does look like there's a patch that addresses some of that at least.
yeah,
That's signed off there on bug 38117.
yeah, item was not checked out and should not always show. I don't know where it came from. I don't know which patch introduced that, but it was really excessive there that first day.
Yeah, Nick's first report on that references bug 8461, which is a very old bug.
Yeah, somebody finally cleared up that cleared up a bug from 2012, and everybody hates the fix.
Yep.
I put a bug in the chat just to be aware of, in the staff interface when you search something in the catalog and then you go down to the holdings table, the date last what is it? Date last seen. It used to be a date and a timestamp, and it's lost the timestamp, so now it just shows the date. And that was one thing that my staff came back and said, wait, but I need to see the time because that helps me understand where something might be when I'm looking. So it's apparently been signed off, but nothing's happened to it since. But that was one thing that was brought to my attention.
I'm surprised nobody complained to me about that one because they were really excited when that timestamp got added. Oh, I remember something else that broke for us was, well, we've been having lots of issues with the holds queue. So we had some duplicate stuff, which isn't web dev related, but it seems like that's getting fixed. There's a patch for that where we were getting the same hold on 2 different queues at the same time. But another issue I had with the holds queue was some of the custom code that I had written. So one of my libraries has to have patron information on the queue. They have an upstairs, downstairs, and they need to know if they know which patrons go upstairs versus downstairs. So in my inability to say no, I wrote some jQuery to make that happen for them. But there were several more columns added to the holds queue, and it was like using the number of the column rather than the name of the column. So the display of their holds queue like totally broke, and it was printing out the wrong things, and I had to fix that this morning. So if you have like, if you're doing things with the columns not within the column settings in the holds queue, which why would you not be, then that broke. I also found there's something else with the hold. Oh, I had some custom code that flipped. I think by default, the call number column shows shelf location and then call number. And I had written some code to flip that, so then you could sort on the call number, and that had broken during the upgrade, so I had to fix that. Yeah, that's been my most recent thing. The real lesson I learned with this upgrade is just don't add any custom jQuery, because then you don't have anything to fix. Which is what this whole web dev thing's about, so.
Yeah. I actually, you know, my workaround for the draw data table issue is I just did it all in CSS, the stuff that Christopher and I are going to be talking about on Thursday. CSS will break too.
Right. And I don't think I can do that with mine because you can't target like specific content of the cells in CSS, can you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but the stuff that that did break was stuff that we were using to well, I'm going to look up an item here and see if I can. Oh, I know which one to look up to. I used to use jQuery to do little badges on the item statuses to make them stand out better. And that broke with the draw now that this is a data table, it broke. And so I redid those. This is all with CSS instead of jQuery. Because the advantage of doing this in CSS is since it's a, you know, a sortable data table now with all this stuff on it, if you just do it with CSS, you don't have to do the jQuery on draw data table and then go fiddle with it. It just happens automatically because the CSS is applied independently of the data table. So I've rewritten this all in CSS, most of it, 90% of it. All of these things have a span with a class connected to them, except for the available. Available is just a span with no ID, no class, no nothing. So if you want to do anything with it, and I did want to make it a little bit bigger, that you have to do with jQuery because you can't target it any other way. But that's, just one way to avoid some of the issues with jQuery. And the data table is one of those places. It seems like there's a couple of other things where the content loads after the page finishes loading. And so you've got to find a way, if you're using jQuery, to target it after it loads. But if you can do it with CSS, then you don't have to figure out those funky ways to make it to do that. So
Yeah, and CSS is a lot lighter weight than
yeah,
JavaScript, so like it doesn't. A lot of times when you do stuff with JavaScript, you see a little blip where it's like processing it.
yeah,
Where with CSS, if you can do it that way, it loads so
yeah,
fast
it
you
happens
don't see
instantly,
that. Yeah.
which means it's probably using less memory too. I've been experimenting with, I've got this on our homepage. I've got these tabs, and I was experimenting with doing this. There's a way to do that completely with CSS also. But what I've discovered is that if you do that with strictly CSS, then the screen readers can't read through it. And so I don't want to, you can't tab through them the same way you can tab through them if you create it with jQuery. Or at least I haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Well, I'm trying to remember because on this thing, I don't think it works actually. Did I show the right screen? No. So I've got one of those tables on here. Does it not? Yeah, it doesn't tab to the tabs, you're right. I think this is using like Bootstrap code.
Ah,
Yeah. So you're right. That's not accessible because when you tab to the tab, it should open the tab, I think. Or it's not tabbing in the right order. Yeah. I had to use JavaScript on this, but I didn't get this one to work a little better, where it tabs and opens up the panels to an extent. It's still not that accessible either. Don't use mega menus if you like your screen reader to work correctly. Think yeah, I should really focus on that more. Because right now we don't have any staff members that need to use screen readers, but if we ever get to a point where they do, they wouldn't be able to use some of the stuff that we've built.
right.
And who knows how many of my patrons are suffering because I have that mega menu out there and their screen readers go crazy. But I did add some accessibility to it. It's better than it used to be, but it still needs some improvement. And yeah, for that matter, like I guess there was a whole presentation on this at the koha-US conference about how Koha really needs some work on accessibility. So like even the built-in Bootstrap tables, like on the item details page or the record detail page, you can't tab through those either to get to the different tabs. So I would imagine that's one of the things that needs addressed in the base code.
Yeah, but she did say Koha was a lot better than Evergreen, and Koha is a lot better than Bugzilla.
Yeah,
She had a big complaint about Bugzilla, so
a big valid complaint. If the people that can't make bugs
yeah,
about accessibility can't use Bugzilla, then how do those things ever get fixed?
exactly.
I was just skimming through my jQuery to see if there was anything else that jumped out at me, like a recent change, but I'm not seeing anything, and nothing's coming to mind.
I went through and commented a lot of things out just to get me through getting ready for Aspen Discovery next week that I need to go back and fix.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't do a compare on my OPAC sysprep. I don't think I had anything major break there yet that people have pointed out.
I'm kind of not worrying too much about the OPAC because since we'll be going to Aspen Discovery
Yeah,
next
you're not going to be
week,
using it anymore.
it's not going to be an
Sure.
issue after next week.
Yeah, we're still on the vanilla for the foreseeable future. So there are things I want to fix on it. A semi-frequent complaint I get about the OPAC is the cart doesn't work for placing holds, and I've isolated that to like users that are mostly using mobile. So like it gets
No.
really not fun to use the cart and shop for holds when you're using your phone because things get blocked and covered up and stuff. So I've had it on my to-do list for a while, and I actually started on it, and then I think I lost that code during an upgrade. I think when our test server upgraded, I didn't back up that code, so I need to get back to it. But I'd like to make it more mobile friendly, just so like all the buttons are at the bottom and you can thumb through stuff, and it doesn't cover anything up. That's on the to-do.
I did write my first custom CSS for Aspen last week.
What does
So
it
maybe
do?
not much. It's really minor. I can show you though. This is for the page for our Prairie Hill School District, and they wanted to be able to access each individual school's catalog separately. So I put an icon here for the high school, middle school, elementary. And the custom CSS I wrote is that black border around each of the images when you hover. So it was not like mind-bogglingly complicated CSS, but I wrote it nonetheless. And I felt halfway competent for like 20 minutes. Like, hey, I actually know what I'm doing. And then somebody called and asked a question. It's like, I have no clue what I'm doing. So
Is adding the custom CSS in Aspen similar to the way we do it just in Koha?
yes and no. There is when you sign in and you go to the admin panel. So I have a theme for each individual library. Each one has their own separate, virtually all of them have their own separate themes for their own separate catalogs. And if you go to if I go to the theme for Prairie Hills, there's just this box here that says, here's where you can add custom CSS. And that's what I added. And this is stuff that was added by our implementation person from Bywater. So instead of having one place where I can add CSS that affects all of the themes, I've got a separate place in each theme for the custom CSS. So potentially for me, that could mean, like 50 or 60 different places. If I have one piece of CSS I want to add to all of them, I'm going to have to add it in for each theme separately. But that's the whole point of this customization, though, is that, the Leavenworth Library, it's really interesting to me that one of our smaller libraries is the one that's done like the most incredible job at customizing it for their own needs. And they're doing a really great job. They redesigned their logo for Aspen. I can actually this is pretty generic for Prairie Hills. But if we go to Linwood, You know, they did this whole new logo when they added the background, and they've added their events, they added some help pages, and they're creating their new help. They're creating help documents or adding help documents here. And this links out to their library's website. But they're a library in a town that's got, less than 2,000 people. And they've just really bought into having this ability to change their own catalog to make it theirs. And I really appreciate that. Ottawa is doing a really good job too. Ottawa is a much bigger town, and they have a full-time IT person that is taking on the customization of Aspen. And so I expect more from them, because I mean, it's not, a part-time, even the director at Linwood is a part-time person. So the stuff they're doing at Linwood is just really, it's really appreciated that they're buying into it so well. Because some of our smaller libraries, they don't want to change. The ones that actually know what the OPAC is and don't just do everything for their patrons. Because we do have a lot of that where my patrons don't want to use the computer. They just want to come in and talk to me.
That reminded me of another thing that was added in the upgrade. I think it's fairly new anyways. In the library's administration portion, you can add specific CSS and JavaScript to specific library branches OPACs. So Koha's got sort of moving towards that same sort of thing where like you can put separate chunks and customization for specific branches.
Right. But the patron has to be logged in.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the trick with it for us anyways. Like every time I go out and train, we talk about news and how you can put it on the OPAC for your branch, but no one's ever going to see it because the patron has to log in to see it. And then when they log in, it goes to their summary, and they're never going to go back to the home page. So we don't really use it that way.
Right. It's highly unlikely once they get to the summary that they're ever going to go back to the home page.
Yeah. But I mean, being able to customize by branch is nice. It's something I'm avoiding in general because we've always built ours as one big shared catalog, and we don't want them limiting their search. We want them to look at the entire shared collection and place holds and not get stuck in the mindset that if it's not in the library, they can't have it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I appreciate about Aspen is, on the one hand, it does, when you search that Linwood site, it's still going to search all of Next, but it's not going to, Linwood is right close to Bonner Springs and Tonganoxie, where Bonner Springs has Canopy and Tutor.com and Libby, and Tonganoxie has Libby, not Canopy, and some other things. And so the person at Linwood isn't going to see the things that they don't have access to. They're still going to see all the collections at all of the physical collections at all the libraries they have access to, but they're not going to see the electronic resources they don't have access to.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. That's one of the in the pro column for us for Aspen, because right now we have a few different libraries that have Libby, but we can't enable that in the Koha OPAC because
Exactly.
it'll make people jealous. Basically,
Yeah.
they won't be able to actually use it. So yeah, that's one of the pro factors for us, but we're still just not there yet.
Yeah. The other flip side of that too is I can imagine patrons getting irritated. Like if you go to Richmond and say, well, I saw that the library has this. What do you mean I can't borrow it unless I live in Ottawa? That's the other flip side I see, is that if you put everything in the catalog, even for the libraries that don't have access, it can create bad feelings.
Yeah, and we used to support Hoopla, like we would give every library money for Hoopla, and we're sort of moving away from that to where they can pick what they want to use it for. So we're looking at even like disabling all the Hoopla integration on our OPAC because some of our libraries don't use Hoopla. And
Right,
they can't pay for it. So their patrons being able to see it but not use it is a frustration.
right.
So I did look through my OPAC changes since the upgrade. There was one thing that was weird in the self-registration form for me. It was like I can share just in case anybody else has the same problem. This area up here, I have some fields hidden, and in the upgrade, something changed where it was exposing fields that shouldn't be there, and I had to change the code around it. I've got a lot of custom code going on this page that like generates. I can show you. I guess I could just disable the system preference. That might be the easiest.
I was gonna say, isn't there a system preference that controls what appears, which fields appear?
Yeah, so there is, and I think they added. I think that's what broke. So like they made something not appear by default, or vice versa. Oh dang. Here's my broke. So yeah, I'm hiding things with the system preference, and that's what I had to change. Let's look at that. Click unwanted fields. I'm fairly certain it was the date expiry. Before that one wasn't like grayed out and checked, and I was hiding it with JavaScript. But I was hiding it with JavaScript using like a selector that was like take the parent of this object and hide it. So then I lost my home library selector or something like that because it didn't have its own class. Again, it's probably just very specific to me. But yeah, and I have to show that because I'm generating extra code in the background. I'm doing funky stuff on that page, but something broke there. So that was my theme for the day, things that broke for me in my jQuery during the upgrade. So I figured I'd share that as well. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't have much else to talk about this month. Anybody else? Last call. We got 9 minutes. We can fill if you feel like it.
Did anybody make it to KohaCon 24 in Montreal?
I did.
I
And I
did.
made it home alive.
For
It
those
was
of you that
a
weren't there, it was a good conference, and there's some good stuff coming out of it still.
yeah, I think you can watch the recordings on the Koha YouTube channel, but I don't think they broke them out like we do for our conference. So it's just
It's like a 4-hour block, yeah.
but somebody in the comments did go through and add timestamps.
Add
So
timestamps, yeah.
yeah. So there's the day 2 link. I don't know. That's the first one I came across. Here. So it was just the first 2 days that were streamed, but you can go to the at koha.ils/streams and get to the 2 different recordings. And then if you want to jump around, the links are there in the chat. And as far as I know, the translation, I don't know how the translation worked on YouTube. It should have worked where like if you were watching in English, you got the English translation of the French ones and vice versa. But I see there's only 2 streams there, so there may be alternate streams for the different languages.
I think there might be a way in the video to switch languages, but I'm not sure. But I do know that when I was on YouTube Live in the conference room, both languages were available. So there's got to be a way that I just don't understand using YouTube to, I'm trying to look through the controls.
Yeah, it looks like if you turn on closed captioning, it'll generate English, if nothing else, if you can't get the actual audio. I haven't looked through it to see what the audio is like actually.
So I just jumped into the keynote and I can hear the translator. It is in English. So, but I wonder if
Yeah,
there's a way to do it without hearing the translator.
I don't know.
Because even though I don't speak French, I do want to see the presentation in French completely. So I don't know how to take care of that. So,
But yeah,
but
it was a good conference. There was a lot of good, like, there were a lot of sessions in the first 2 days about like this is a new feature that was added. So like they talked about bookings, they talked about preservation, and I thought that was like some good stuff to look at. I'm trying to remember what else. I mean, the keynotes were both on AI.
just like our conference, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So go check it out. All right. Anything else to add before we break here? Charlie, you unmuted.
I did. I was gonna say thank you. I have to run.
Sure.
Even though we're ending already. But thank you.
See you later.
All right. We will cut it off there. Thanks everybody. And I'll see if I can get a hold of Lucas and see if he wants to reschedule, how he wants to handle it. But for now we're on the calendar for the same. Well, actually I don't think we run into any of the holidays next month, so right now we're on for the 21st.
Ooh, my
If
group
that-
is scheduled for Thanksgiving Day. I'll probably have to.
Everybody can have a turkey dinner while they talk about consortia stuff.
Yeah, I won't be there though. If somebody else wants to host, I'm not going to host on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, not it. All right, so yeah, we'll plan on the 21st for this one next month, and if it changes, we'll send out a message.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks everybody.
See y'all later.
See ya.